This is a homage beat.
What's up, YouTube? We back. Teddy and Key's observation. See, it's been too long.
It's been too long.
T.K.O. We gonna have a little drink.
Hey. We're supposed to look each other in the eyes. 7 years of bad sex if we don't look each other in the eye.
I'm gonna do another
Look
one.
me in the eye.
All right. That was a drink to celebrate Key's passing of her NCLEX. Congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate
Yes. She is a RN.
Yep, a registered nurse now.
Registered nurse, y'all.
It's been a long time coming. A lot of dope running. Hustling, trying to
Ain't no dope.
Ain't
no dope.
I mean,
A lot of pills pushing.
It was a lot of dope.
A lot of pills pushing.
Okay, pills pushing. Yeah, right. Dope, pills, dope.
Yeah. You're gonna be pushing them pills.
Pushing pills.
Well, not really.
To the limit.
She gonna do everything above board. Anyway. We are here to discuss.
What are we discussing?
Y'all,
if our energy is like a little dead, I will tell you that this time change has been like confused and thrown me off all the way. So I think tonight we just want to have a conversation.
Yes.
I don't know if it's going to be all about the extraness or whatever the case may be.
Probably not.
Because I'm tired. Okay. Our conversation, did we even think of a title for this conversation?
I don't know. We off the cuff with it. So.
Well, I know that we kind of talked about when we were looking for something to discuss. I was telling you, kind of discussing the different personalities in the workspace and how to deal with that, and how I had to actually learn that multiple times, which led me to where I am now. And it's still a journey of me learning, but I think that, it's a little different now. I have different perspective on things.
We grow. We evolve.
Definitely.
We see different things, and you have been in a couple of work environments, and pretty sure you got a lot to say on some of them personalities you ran into.
It's a lot of personalities. I think going from high school to like kind of not really having to collaborate with people in high school unless it's like a group project, and not having to collaborate with people in college unless it's a group project. Then having to go out into the workforce, and depending on the type of job that you get, you very much have to collaborate with people, especially like in a corporate setting or a setting where there's an interpersonal team. It can be very difficult.
Yeah, I think a lot of jobs, even jobs where they give you your task, it's still some form of collaboration. I know work from home got everybody thinking like, oh, I don't have to collaborate. I mean, a lot of people know that you do, but I don't know, not really. I don't think if there's really one job unless you are your own boss.
No, there's plenty of jobs. I think that
maybe
it's just different levels of jobs, right? So people who work in retail, people who...
I still feel like you got to collaborate.
I
mean, you may have your task.
Not as much as you have to collaborate like in a corporate office, a corporate setting where there's different teams.
Different types of collaboration, sure.
Right, there's different types of collaboration, but usually you're kind of just assigned a task, and you kind of go about it with the person. Or it might be like, oh, do this with this person, but it's a task that you're moving your body or whatever the case may be. So, I mean, I don't know. I kind of stayed out of the way of people. I'm not, what I learned when I got into the workforce is that a lot of companies want to get to know you. And I think that I find that so weird. Like, I've had conversations with girlfriends, and they were like, I just want to go to work and do my job. Like, I don't want to talk to people and ask them how they're doing and all this other stuff. And it's the same. Like, I just want to work and go home.
That's your personality.
But me and my friends. So, I mean, I do understand it now a little bit differently. of just building a rapport with people just in case you need them, I guess.
Well, it's to me. I mean, my experience is a little bit different. I've been in corporate America now more than I've been in any other type of environment.
Mm-hmm.
But that rapport is important, especially when there's a team-based environment and you're having to work cross-functionally. You want to be able to not have this robotic communication like, hey, I just need something from you. Can you get it? It's just like,
Right.
you want to be able to have a conversation, and those intangible type of relationships come in handy.
They do. I think it definitely comes to handy. I think a lot in the Black community, we haven't really been taught to build rapport and have conversations with people. I think for many of us, many of our parents kind of either directed our relationships or friendships in some sense. And then we get into the situation where we have to actually have a serious conversation or communicate effectively. And for many of us, we are very direct. We can be singular in perspective. So I think it's very hard. I remember listening to this one lady who worked in healthcare, and she had one of her superiors send an email for a paper trail, basically, and she didn't know how to respond back or whatever the case may be, because it's like, what do you say when you're pissed off, you're mad?
My last email.
How do you, right? But it's deeper than that. Like, how do you show up for yourself and communicate in a corporate environment? And I think one of the things that I've admired about you from what I know is that you do pretty well in conversing with the team of people that you're around.
I kind of do well, but I appreciate your admiration. But I don't know. That's part of my personality. My dad he was himself in a corporate environment. Matter of fact, he was a police officer. And policing is collaboration. I mean, he might be out there solo dolo, but you got a partner. Then he worked in different areas, and it's all about collaboration. Then he made a whole different career field shift, and it was just more collaboration, more corporate environment. So I was kind of raised in that. Plus, I played basketball, so that helps. I played a lot of sports, so that helps. But it's a different animal when it comes to dealing with different personalities and knowing how to articulate yourself in an environment where people can be shady. People can try to run over you. People can exhibit and show different things. And you just, I don't know. It's teach their own, but there's ways to modify how you interact with the workforce to kind of maintain your sanity.
Right. I totally understand the point, like, of your dad being a police officer. I think in that aspect, like, you actually have to build a rapport with people because you want people to have your back. I mean, that should be the job no matter what. But at the end of the day, you just want people to see you, to like, I'm your partner or I'm someone on your team or whatever the case may be. I think for me and some other women that I've spoken to, it's just about the authenticity of building that rapport. I feel like some jobs can want you to come in and they want you to mingle automatically. You know what I mean? And that's not necessarily the case. Like, you have to take into perspective that people have different personalities, and you're like dropping them into this already established team and expecting them to flourish, or is for you to get to know a little bit about them. And I have noticed that you kind of gotta watch yourself. Like, for me, I can be, once I do make a friend, I can just be a little bit more personal, and you just never know what the other person is thinking, who they're telling that to, and so it kind of can destroy relationships too.
I mean, at the end of the day, it is a job, right? Everybody's there to do a job.
Besides those jobs that say, this isn't like a job, we're family here.
A lot of jobs like to say that, especially smaller businesses, and it'd be the smaller businesses that don't have that family feel. They have that tight grip, I'm a dictator type feel on you. But I kind of do agree with jobs being a little bit pushy and trying to get you to mingle. And maybe I'm biased because again, I come from a sports background, a team-based background. Excuse me, where the coaches, the psychological aspect they would try to push you into team events, because the better you can bond off court, the better you can play together, because you trust each other. You're more likely to go ask this person for advice. You're more likely to be open and responsive and open to criticism if you know that, if you get the feeling that they're a trusting person, or you can trust them and they can trust you,
Right.
as opposed to this cold and calculated environment where it's, I'm only going to approach you when I need something. I'm here to do a 9 to 5. You give me what I want, and we go back to my
job. I think that.
But jobs are more than that, because a job is a company. A company is almost like a living organism, and for a living organism to work, all components have to work harmoniously.
Right. So I think. Go ahead. I don't want to control.
So if they work harmoniously, then just like our body works, our body communicates with different aspects of the body, the nervous system, the bloodstream. It all works together. So a company all works together. So if, I don't know much about the human body. I didn't really pass biology like that. But I would imagine if one part of the body was like, hey, I'm just here to do this part, and it's time to interact with the other part, and it's just like, it doesn't have this fluid interaction, it would be much harder to get whatever it needs to get done. It's the same thing in a team aspect, and it's the same thing in a workspace. People don't like doing it, and people just want to come to the job and like, this is my job. I get paid. I don't get paid to talk. Like, some jobs, sure. Some jobs, you got to step outside of that. And some jobs, yeah, you can have that mentality because it's just that type of job.
I think for me, I can do a lot better of building a rapport and communicating effectively now that I've failed and learned from my failures, but also by getting to know myself a lot more. I think when I went to, when I first started working fresh out of college, like I had low self-esteem. I didn't know too much, not knowing that I didn't know too much, but now I can look back and just be okay that I made a mistake and accept it if somebody points out, hey, I made a mistake, or respond to a person without, taking offense to what it is that they're saying. Communicate, but I also have to be in a certain environment. Like, I can't be in a micromanaged environment because then that gives me anxiety, because it's like you have to please this person to maintain your...
Or you got to know how to manage up.
Yes, and I've tried managing up before, and it can be it can be it can be an added thing on your plate. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like trying to manage up, you expect for your manager, this is where I went wrong. You expect for your manager to be a decent human being, and you expect for them to have characteristics of a decent person, but not everybody is like that. Right. I mean, I understand everybody has their own...
Well, they're probably a decent human being. They're just a decently flawed human being.
Right. No, that makes sense, too. You got me on that one. They're flawed, and I guess within those walls of working, it can...
That's just what people don't realize, and that's what kind of pushes people to the... I'm just here to do my job, high and by type of stuff. You see the memes on social media all the time. It's like, I'm here to do me and get out. That's it. But
don't talk to me. I'm fine.
Because there's people come with different personalities. People come with different baggage, different traumas. You're there. People don't realize, like, you see these people probably just as much as you see your own family.
Totally.
If not more.
And I think that what makes you want to have a stress-free work environment.
But how do you have a stress-free work environment? You don't have a stress-free work environment just by avoiding the people you're going to be around 70% of your day.
Avoiding them. I think that learning how to communicate.
Developing relationships.
I think that when I personally, for me, if you don't mind me talking about myself, I personally got into therapy when I was able to figure out how to communicate some of the things that I felt and needed. And I know you and I have had this conversation before where I think that you didn't feel that the I feels of emotions were a good place to have a conversation in a workspace. Um,
Right.
I think more so maybe for a man, maybe it's not the most designed place to have those type of conversation because men lead in the work environment. But I think for women, especially if you have a woman boss or even if you have a man boss, like stating I feel and being straightforward as a woman. I feel emotion, not I feel like you, whatever
Right. Right.
how people do. But I think for me, I've tried that in a workspace before, and I actually did feel heard. I felt like the person picked up on the emotion that I was feeling, and they were like, "We're not trying to make you feel this way." Bless, 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 bless. Now, I don't know how that would have worked out in the long run had I had continued having those conversations. Maybe they would have called me sensitive. I don't know, but I think another thing that needs to be reformed in work environments is realizing that people have feelings and they're not robots, and
Oh, yeah.
you as a person or a manager or whoever not perfect or are not perfect, and your employee has feelings.
That's true.
And so, I mean, that's just how I look at it.
You know me, I'm a half and half agree with you on some of that stuff. Simply because at the end of the day, a business is there to bring in revenue, hit their goals, and make decisions. And introducing too many feelings can be a detriment to a business progression. Does a business supposed to care about its employees and how they're feeling? Yes, but at the end of the day, if those employees are all happy and the business is failing, they're going to be sad when the business closes. So there has to be some sort of balance there.
Right.
And that employee has to come to work knowing that there's an objective and an output that is required of either myself or the entire business. And I can't enter every conversation with a I feel.
Correct.
I really think it's situational because I don't want to generalize it. I hear you more and more now, but it's to me it's situational in the sense of, hey, what am I coming to the table to solve? Is it something like I'm being treated unfairly on a personal level by another peer of mine or by my boss? Is it like, do I need to get HR involved? Like the way this person is constantly yelling at me and all this other stuff. Like, I'm a grown person. You shouldn't be talking to me this way. Yeah, I can understand invoking the I feels in some of those scenarios. But if there's an objective tied to it, some of those I feels might have to me in a corporate environment, might have to either be pushed to the side or find a way to be mixed in with some logic initially, because not everybody is going to be able to understand an I feel statement.
Correct.
You got to be able to, as you know, read a personality, be like, hey, this is a mentally aware and emotionally aware and healthy individual that I can say I feel. Those are probably people that can have the ability to show empathy. Your last boss prior to going to nursing school was not that type of person. Correct. You can say I feel this, and we and I both
would
know.
have said you shouldn't feel that way. I think she might have actually said that a couple times.
Right, but you and I both assessed her, and we agree on some similar things. Like, she had her own set of issues.
Correct.
And she probably projected that a lot on you, so your stuff could have fell on deaf ears. Now, granted, you're not this type of person. I told you about this book before, The 48 Laws of Power, and I know how much you dislike this book.
I might be open a little bit more to
but,
it.
you know, there's good tactics in there that doesn't have to change who you are, but you can employ some tactics that may not necessarily lean to the I feel, which will appeal to the human side of people. But if you're dealing with a person that's either cold or they're deep in their flaws, then these things can help you alleviate the discomfort in your position while you're there until you can get to somewhere else, or at least you can make it past, you know, your environment in that position.
And I can hear that now. I won't say that everything. I think I read the first chapter of 48 Laws of Power, and it immediately was the turn off. But I think that I can hear it more now and be open to reading a little bit more and accepting what I can be open to. Um, Now that I've grown and I've been through life a little bit more, because I do realize that I can't, and I hate when people say this, but I can understand it. Some people are really, they can be sensitive. And it's not in a sense to say that people shouldn't feel. It's in a sense of saying, like, feel how you feel, but also find a solution to what it is that you feel. Because if you continue to let that feeling, like, fester, it's going to take control over you. Like, you're going to let that dictate your outcome.
I think everybody's sensitive, so there's different. Um, I guess there's different levels of sensitivity. I'm sensitive, you're sensitive, but what I may be sensitive to
Isn't, yeah.
what you're going to be sensitive to, and I think you hit the nail on the head in the sense of, yeah, if you're sensitive, no matter you're highly sensitive on certain subjects or not, what are you going to do about it?
Right.
And you got to know that, hey, there's probably only a handful of options. You can keep being sensitive, keep feeling the way you're doing, keep running your head into a wall,
Always running away,
or always talking about it and never do anything about it. Or you can approach the problem with your emotions or with logic, whatever fits the situation. Or you can balance, and you got to realize that, hey, if you take a calculated risk in how you're going to solve that problem, be it whoever's standing in front of you or the group of people, then just know that there's possible consequences that can come out of that. And that's the risk you run with dealing with multiple personalities. Like, everybody's human. Everybody really wants the same goal. Everybody wants to come to work and have this environment that makes them feel good and they feel productive. But when you start intermingling all our flaws together, then you get the traditional workplace problems that everybody knows today.
Yeah. I wonder what HR does. Like, I wasn't like...
HR is there to protect the interests of the company, not you.
Right, exactly. I was going to say that. Like, they just put on a front, because I've worked very close to HR, but of course, like, I wasn't the HR, like, manager or the specialist, whoever, like, handled the problems or heard whatever was going on. I do know that they would say that they're not going to share what you share with them, but I know that they do share what you share with them.
I mean, you worked in the corporate Fortune 500 HR, and I've seen kind of what's that like behind the scenes. And I've made friends with people who are HR in a smaller business realm. And really the core of it, like I said, is they're protecting the interests of the company. And then you got those who actually care and want to develop people.
I think we might be going out of our
It's still all personality.
I think the word is realm, but I think that I don't believe that HR really comes in like wanting to help people. I feel like for me, when I was getting right, no, I understand, but when I was getting close to HR, like contemplating on being in HR, like, I don't think that that's their goal, is to like.
Your first goal is to mitigate risk. They will tell you that. If they don't, they're lying.
Okay.
Even I'm not gonna say names, but
you almost slipped up.
Yeah, I almost did. My last HR manager, he was straight up. He's like, I'm not gonna lie to you. HR's goal, first and foremost goal, is to mitigate risk for the company. Like, I can understand that.
I've also looked at this and probably giving away of my idea, but I know in hospitals they have companies, groups, a wellness program. At the last hospital I worked at, where you could really go and kind of get some skills and some coping strategies for whatever it was that you were going through. They actually had like resource hotlines for you to call or whatever the case may be. So that's what I really do love about
a good HR
being in
program
healthcare.
Will do that.
Right, but when I think that when it's outside of healthcare, helping other people having to help other people, I think that it's not really used to its full advantage.
No, I mean, it deals with the people that were already there, pre-existing policies, There's a lot of stuff that goes on, and really, if you think about it, the only real reason that they're doing it is still to mitigate risk. Because at the end of the day, a happy employee is an employee that's gonna what?
Come to work.
Come to work, and you're gonna increase the employee retention,
Right.
which is less risk on the company because you don't have to go out there and hire a new employee.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I've worked at some sucky places. I will say that. I will say for me, I am thankful to have a skill set that allows me to be desired. Because I feel like when I was like bouncing around trying to figure out like what it is that I wanted to do,
you ran into a lot of problems that a lot of people talk about when it comes with dealing with different people.
right?
You got the drama, the BS, because if you're not really passionate or have this trained skill set to do what it is,
Yeah.
what you're there to do, and it's kind of a generalized thing, then you got all day to worry and think about the crap that's going on. But when you actually care and train to do this specific job, you start to develop a different mentality and how to actually make this environment work for you.
Right, and I think getting to know yourself, and I think that, like I said, I definitely have more self-esteem. Like before, if somebody would say something that I felt was to the left, like I wouldn't know how to handle it. And now I have a self-esteem of like being able to stand up for myself correctly without and I think I've always handled myself in the workspace correctly. Let me just say that, where I never had to like pop off and do all this stuff like if you call me in the street. But but I think that I didn't, like I said, I didn't know how to communicate it. And so with that being said, I would always feel unheard, which left me feeling mad because I felt unheard and I didn't know how to handle the situation.
All right. Let me ask you a question. What would be your ideal boss? If you had to describe your superior, boss, manager, whatever you want to call them. If they had to have 4 attributes, what would they be?
Number one, right off the top, would be genuine. Number 2 would be a great communicator.
Genuine, great communicator. Okay.
Number 3 would be I don't think I really want a lot. I just want a genuine, great communication.
What about the management style?
Kind of realizing that I am an only child. So with that being said, if I don't need
Is that really their job to realize that?
Yes, I think that when people tell you, I know we're getting off subject here, but when you go in interviews,
it's all within the realm. It's personalities.
Interviews, and they be like, "Oh, so tell me about yourself." I have gotten straight to the point now. I don't do all that fluff. Oh, I went to such and such school. I'm married. I live here. Whatever. Blah 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 blah. I literally used to do that. I did not know what to say. I would cringe up. But now it's like I know myself. I've taken the test. I know that my Enneagram is the number 8. I'm a challenger. I think that is my strength. I can always find a way to challenge a situation. And I also think that is my weakness. I can over challenge and not accept what it is that I cannot change.
There's an art to that, though, by the way.
Is it?
Yeah. Like in a sense of like all this stuff about you, right? We know that you're a challenger. Your parts of your Enneagram, right? You got to be able to read who's interviewing you, what they mean to you getting hired, and kind of the landscape of the environment. Because you can very well admit to Joe Blow over here that I'm a challenger. But if you pick up on this energy, like he really wants to control the situation, 1, you may not want to work there in the first place. But 2,
right.
You can highlight other attributes and still be authentic in there, in a way that allows you to still authentically show who you are, without, like, let's say that last person who managed you. You telling her that in the beginning.
Yeah, no, that probably would have ran her off because that's not what she wanted. She didn't want a challenger.
But like I said, if at the end of the day, if you would have known that before, that's probably the job you didn't.
Right.
want anyway.
Exactly.
But yeah, I would employ those tactics only if you really want the job.
No, I get what you're saying. I can use different wording for that, but also I think in my last job in healthcare, I was able to say that, and I think that's why I belong in healthcare, because they want somebody to be a challenger, to be an advocate, or whatever the case may be.
You gotta find the thing that suits you.
Exactly, but I definitely understand what it is that you're saying. So I can't give you 4. I can only give you 2. I just want a genuine person and a good communicator, and someone who can understand. You said management style, but someone who can understand that yes, I am an only child, and there's a way for me to say that. Like, I grew up an only child, so I am a person who is very independent. I usually when I'm usually a problem solver, or I look for solutions before I come and ask for help. So when I come to you for help, it's because like either I really don't know, or I might be confused that day. Yeah. That's a way to get a joke in.
Confused that day.
We all have our bad days.
Yeah, we do. We're not perfect. Let's see. For me.
Oh yes.
I kind of like my last boss. You know who he is. We're pretty cool outside of work, but I just need somebody who's open, lets me be innovative in the way that I work. I don't think I've ever had a boss that micromanaged me. I think that's partly because of the career field. Well, no, I ain't gonna lie. There's people that are in the career field that have a micromanaging type of boss, but I don't know. I've just been fortunate enough that I haven't had a micromanage. Now, I've been around micromanaging type of people, and it was to the benefit of the company at times, and it was to the detriment too, because this one person that I'm thinking of, he was like a drill sergeant. I don't even think he was in the Marines, but when he walked on the production floor, he kind of invoked fear into the into the organization. The people really out there.
Fearful.
I mean, he knew his stuff, and the part about it was like he was the only one that knew his stuff. Turns out he really didn't know that much. He just knew enough
to make it look like he knew.
Not even just to make it look like he knew. He knew enough to actually be effective, but you put somebody who actually studied the craft, you could tell that he didn't know that much. He was just it's like the sixth girl who is cute, that's with a bunch of twos.
The number 6.
The number 6. Who's with a bunch of 2s and 3s or 4s, and she looks like she's a dime. That was him. Until some other people came along who's a more effective type of leader. And he was real pain. And I would not want to work for him. He would not be my ideal boss. My ideal boss is cool, casual, give me space, I'll come to you. And just don't be too old school about your mannerisms.
Like you with your parent again?
Yeah, I don't want to do the yes sir and all this other stuff. Not that I've ever had to do that.
Right.
But like this whole, I think I've talked to you about several situations with mine, this whole chain of command stuff. I can understand it, and I do respect it. Like, there is a chain of command within the workforce. But then some people take it too literally, like, oh, I can't believe you talked to this person behind. There's ways of doing that, right? You could befriend the person that's above your thoughts, and you keep open lines of communication, like, hey, I went and talked to so-and-so, and I'm just informing you. And you don't, I can't describe every situation, but you can put yourself in a space where, I lost my whole train of thought. It's a drink. Anyway, it is alcohol. But you can put yourself in a space to where you can maneuver in this environment without stepping on anyone's toes.
Yeah. And it just also depends on the person. I remember my last job that I was having some, communication problems with my superior, and so I went to her superior, trying to have a conversation with him, and I think that she actually kind of saw me walking that way, and Fortune
500 company, one so big.
Right, and she, her hurried up and got rid of me with the quickness. She saw me as a super threat, but
I mean, she was gonna get rid of you regardless.
right, because I wasn't.
She just wants you to come in there and do what she said.
Be her do girl. That's what she wanted me to do.
Oh, tell them about the coffee and stuff.
Oh yes. So
No names.
I can say it now, but we were in like talking about when we were at the meeting. I think it was like the tea.
I think you told me several things.
Oh yeah, it was a lot of stuff that she would do. Like there was a situation where she wanted me to be her do person. She asked me how far away I was because I was coming into work. You know, I had to drop my son off at daycare, and I was like, I told her where I was. And she said, okay, well, can you pick me up a chai latte from Starbucks? And I was like, you know, I'm not thinking any big deal about it or whatever the case may be. I went and I picked it up, and she told me where she was. She was in a meeting. So this is a meeting in front of, like, all these, like, pretty much, I guess, they weren't executives. She was an executive, but I don't know.
Higher ups,
okay. He's pretty much higher ups.
Upper management,
yes, that's the correct word. And I brought it to her, and then one of the people in our department who were in there of the upper management, they were like, dang girl, I wish you could bring me such and such or something. And she just, it made it seem as if I was like the do person. I can't really explain it in words, but it was just like, it was just like, you know, I wish you could bring me this next time or whatever, blah, 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 if they were going to like set me up to be the do person in the future.
I mean, some people make little jokes like that, but nah, I get that.
Yeah, it was kind of tacky. And then there was this other time where I was headed towards a meeting, and she was like, oh, have you left your desk yet? And I was like, no. She's like, can you stop in my office and get me some water or whatever the case may be? And I'm just like, okay. So this was like a 3-day meeting, and so the next day I remember like telling her like, hey, don't forget your water or whatever. Like, so that was me trying to manage up, like to let her know like I'm not your do person. I think that she could feel that. So one day she asked me, like literally at the company we were at, you could literally email the copying station or department and tell them what you needed printed off and how much you needed printed off. And they would tell you what time to come pick it up. This is something that she could do. Instead of doing that, she sent me an email trying to get me to do this back and forth. And so what I did is I CC'd the copying department, and I was like, oh, Tracy, how many you say we needed? Like, ooh, I said her name, she'd be all right. I was like, how many you said?
We've changed the names to protect the innocent.
How many you said was needed? Like, so I'm trying to get her to like back up off me. Like, I did my part of trying to manage up with her, and it was just very difficult.
Were you ever, let me ask you this, were you ever direct in the sense of like, hey Tracy, like I can show you how to do this? Like, it's simple as the time that it takes for you to email me, you can email them and they'll have it ready, and I'll go pick it up, but just letting you know.
I think that she was just one of those old school.
But did you ever try?
No,
it, right?
I never tried that exact tactic. But I think that probably would have lit a fire under her too. Because remember, I think that we were having some conflict, and I think I asked her. I was like literally in tears, like, and I don't cry for nobody like that. Like, not in the workspace. Like, I'm hard. But I was literally.
You a big old softy.
I was literally in tears in her office, and I was like, do you think we're gonna be okay? Like, just trying to like figure out the situation of saying like, I'm looking for her to be like, girl, yeah, like this is just a bump in the road. Like, you know, we're gonna make it. You know, the next day she tried to reprimand me and was like, that sounded like a threat.
I mean, you don't know how people gonna take it, but
why not ask me? Like, why not say like, hey, you know, I don't know what you meant by that.
She's not as inquisitive as one would like. But then it goes back to what we said before, which was, you know, these expectations of how we think people, at least decent, healthy people, would respond. And it's not always the case. You know, you got to find ways to match someone's energy. Like, I actually kind of disagree. I think that if you were to match her directness or her whatever energy she was giving with some direct energy back. Like, hey, get up off me. Like, hey, I just got to tell you, I personally don't like having to bring you water in front of everybody. It makes me feel this way.
But at first it wasn't a problem because I feel like I'm a sweet person.
I mean, I feel the third time. There was one incident that I think you left off was she was across the room or something and she could.
Yeah, we were in a meeting. And I totally get it. It kind of was a tight space. She was kind of a little larger woman, but she had enough space to get able to walk around the room and to pour herself her own tea. She wanted me to hand her her lunch, pour
in
her
the same
tea.
meeting?
In this exact meeting.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Well, not the same meeting from the latte tea.
Okay.
But it had some of the same people in it.
Yeah.
And people from...
They was about to put a kick me sign on your back.
Exactly. And I'm sitting up here feeling like a dum-dum. And so I'm just looking like, are you for real? Like, are you serious? So what she needed was a secretary. And she probably should have made it known that that's something that she, wanted or needed. But she probably couldn't. So she probably just had to, dock it up to get what she really wanted. Because she told me she didn't want anybody to come in there she
said this on the interview.
Yeah, she did say this on the interview, and I should have my
antenna should have went
up. But I was trying to leave one devil. I didn't know the next devil I would get. But
heck of a devil.
But she did say it on the interview that this one lady she thought would work out, but she didn't want nobody coming in there questioning her or something. Like, she just pretty much wanted domain.
Yeah, because she thought she knew what it is that she needed to do, and she could communicate that to the do girl, and then it would make her look good.
And I think she really quite didn't know enough, if I could be honest. And I think she was hiding that. She didn't. I think she kind of
I mean, it makes sense. If you don't know enough, then you don't want somebody coming in that knows enough to expose you.
Because it was somebody that knew,
right.
They were educated
and again,
on it.
These type of people exist in all places, whether it be them actually touching the product, performing the service, up to the CEO themselves. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of people out here who are educated, who've made their rounds in the corporate realm or whatever realm they are in, and they've made it into these positions of power. And they suck
They do.
to report to, because their leadership style isn't conducive to managing employees effective. You're managing grown men and women, and the organization that we work for, I noticed on my end, they would hire people who are less capable, or at least who they thought were less capable. And want them to just do basic stuff without much pushback. Mm-hmm. That's why I didn't hire that one person, because it's like they just weren't capable. Mm-hmm. Next thing I know, they hired for somebody else.
Oh, they got hired for somebody else?
Yeah.
Yeah, they kind of kept... Yeah, it was just terrible. But anyways...
We're not here to badmouth them, because we won't tell you who they are. But anyway, there's companies out there that are like that, but you got to know that companies are full of people. People are flawed. And when there's flaws, there's conflict. And that's where there needs to be conflict resolution skills that you need to learn outside of your workplace. And we can't depend on HR, because guess what we learned today? They're here for the interest of the company, not you.
And I think just knowing who you are when you walk into a workplace.
That's the number one thing.
And
knowing what you're willing to put up with and what you want. And it makes it easier to stand on things.
And your communication, knowing how to communicate. I think that if you are a person who has never been around effective communication, make sure that you go out there and maybe acquire that skill. I don't know if there's any classes or courses out there that could help. That's probably a good idea for somebody if they're a professional who knows how to show people how to write emails, how to respond to certain things. Because I know
my last email. That's how you curse somebody out.
Social media. And it's much more than saying.
And you gotta attach the email. My last email, and attach it.
That's just like a circle of crap.
And then you CC they boss to it.
Yeah, you do gotta be adding everybody on the email. So.
I'm gonna teach that class how to curse people out in email.
Hilarious. Well, I think that was a pretty good conversation.
Yeah. Personalities in the workplace. Just know there's a lot of them.
There are. This weather change.
And we all crazy.
Oh, I'm not crazy.
We
I
all
just want
crazy.
to go to work. I mean, like, I all have my level
I'm
of crazy.
crazy.
Everybody
You're
has
crazy.
their level of crazy. Yes, I will get that. But
Because there's no such thing as normal.
that's true. If you ever
That's
come
crazy.
into contact with me at work, I honestly just want to do my job. And
Yeah, leave her
I
alone.
just want to be genuine. If you aren't genuine, please leave me alone.
But they're not. So you're going to have to deal with them. You're gonna be on the floor with some nurse who's just not genuine and they're going to be wet behind the ears or something and boom.
Yeah.
Now you're faced with that person.
I can learn how to deal with those people. I'm yarning. It's time change. But hopefully I can learn how to deal with those people and just going about my business. And I love the fact that it's 3 days a week. I only get to deal with you for 3 days. Hopefully some of your 3 days ain't my 3 days.
Yeah, that's a good thing about your position.
Yes.
I see my people 5 days a week.
Yes, and that was another thing for me. You're not gonna stress me out 5 days a week. That was one big thing for me. I got stressed all over the world, and it's not gonna be at this workplace.
Hey, it is what it is.
It is what it is. I think we a little toasted now. Not toasted.
I ain't toasted. I'm just sleepy.
Okay,
It is almost
my
10
eyes
o'clock.
about to go ching, ching. Oh.
We're going to edit that out.
I got Chinese in my family, though. I really do. You synced it. It was Chinese on there. 0.2%, but it's in there. And you know, hold on. No, wait a minute. This is a different conversation. You know that you get different DNA. So there's 4, if there's 4 siblings, each one going to get a different DNA. So a certain trait might be represented more.
That's only 1.5 of you, Steven.
What you mean, 1.5 of me?
You and your sister.
Oh, you silly.
And you got 0.2 as we saw.
But my mom probably has more. But I still have it in my family.
But you ain't got it.
That's what I'm saying. But it's in my family. But you can still see it in small things. Whatever.
I'm German.
Whatever.
I'm German. Remember that.
We already wrapped this. Okay, this conversation's going on.
We gone.
We gone.
We
We'll
gone.
see y'all later. All right, come on with this hand clap. Yeah, you know what I mean? Make it clap. Boom.